everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Stripped Back with Daisy Delight, where I am doing my very, very best to try and unpack the Sydney burlesque scene one rhinestone at a time. And with me today, I have the fantastic, hilarious, just all around gorgeous human being, Victory Von Duchess. How are you going today?
I'm wonderful, Daisy. How are you doing?
I'm going well. I'm going well. I'm excited to be talking to you. I feel like this has been a long time coming, so I'm just very,
I know. Listen, I think I can say this safely. We are both two girls that like to yap.
yes.
And so this has been a long time coming to get us both on this podcast. That was such a lovely introduction. Thank you.
No, we're two certified yappers. So this is probably like warning to the listeners. It's probably going to be like a 2 hour episode. So sorry about
I did say that to you when you first mentioned it to me. I went, "Oh, girl, how long are they got?"
Well, I've done a little bit of a stalkity stalk of all the things that you've been up to. So,
Gorgeous.
you are of course, a Sydney based. Oh, actually, technically Blue Mountains. Yeah.
Technically, if we want to get technical about it, yes, technically I live in the mountains, but I come down to Sydney all the time. So put me wherever, and I will take it.
But you've done some incredible things in your time in burlesque. I mean, you've performed at like a variety of fantastic shows like Red Light Confidential, Royalty Recruits, Fresh Meat, among others. And also, you were the winner of Apprentice 2023. Congrats.
Thank you. I was, and I have been very, very lucky. Some people have been very, very kind in the Sydney scene and the Canberra scene to let me on their stages, and I've been so, so fortunate that because I bring a certain brand of weird nonsense,
Yeah.
and that doesn't fit in everywhere. So I appreciate when my weirdness is picked up and given a platform. So yeah, I consider myself very lucky. And the Apprentice win, that was an incredibly uplifting experience. It's still such a confidence builder. I think there's applications are still open just for 2025, and I always advocate everyone doing it. If you're just starting out and you want to, it's not even about winning. I mean, you did
No.
it, you know what I'm talking about. It's just
Mhm.
the community, the opportunity to present yourself well. Like, I can never recommend The Apprentice especially enough. It was just such a positive experience. I mean, obviously I'm going to say that I won, but I think I think that it was that for everyone else from what I've heard. The amazing performers I met, I felt so privileged.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I didn't win in my year and I had a goddamn blast. It really is just a coming together of community. It's so beautiful.
It it really is. And it's also like, if you are a burlesque watcher, it's like, okay, so who's on the scene that is interesting? Who's
Mhm.
going to be, making good shows? Who's going to be good to watch? And like, I think about my lineup, and like everyone went and did something awesome.
Yeah.
I think about your lineup, everyone's going and doing something awesome.
Yeah.
So, it's not really about that title, even though the title is lovely and I treasure it.
Mm.
It's not about that title. It's about showing up.
Yeah. 110%. And it's always like, I don't know, I can speak from my experience backstage my year, but it was such a lovely vibe backstage. Everyone was so nice and friendly, and it was just very supportive. It was sweet.
Yeah, yeah. There's something as well in the terror that bonds us all together backstage. Like, there's no reason for us to be so nervous for competitions, but
Yeah.
something about it. But yeah, this in that kind of like, oh god, we want to all do a really good job. Yeah, I had the exact same experience. It was wonderful backstage. Like, at one time we were like, oh yeah, we are going to go find out who won this. Okay, I guess we better go.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a vibe. It was just a vibe, and everyone was so lovely. And it's yeah, competitions are. I'm not saying they're for everyone. I get some people are like, oh, I would never. But
Mm.
if you're thinking about it, I couldn't advocate for it more.
Yeah, seriously. It's a bloody good time. I'd highly recommend as well.
It's a fun old time. It is a fun way to be stressed.
All right, so we're just gonna jump straight into it. What was your first ever exposure to burlesque?
Yeah. So look, I think like many, because I'm a fan of the podcast and I've listened,
Oh.
I grew up on kind of the golden age of cinema as well. So,
Mm,
your Marilyns and things like that. And still to this day, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is one of my favorite films.
iconic.
Marilyn in that, she was iconic, but I have to be so honest, it wasn't Marilyn that took me.
Oh, really?
Jane Russell as Dorothy Shaw. Oh my God. That was for me like a revelation. I remember being an 8-year-old little girl and going, that is who I'm going to grow up to be.
Hell yeah.
That smart mouth, suffer no fools, stick up for her friend. Always, she knows what's going on. Like, more intelligent for the time, I think, than what
Mm,
the average woman was allowed to be depicted as. And so for that, I was like, oh my God. And then she was this incredible showgirl
yes.
as well. So I was like, look at her. She's amazing. And then I'm kind of in my early 30s, so I was at the right age in my preteens for when Moulin Rouge came out as well, and that whole resurgence. So, and the Pussycat Dolls when they were a neo burlesque troupe before they were a pop group. Back in my day, they used to do burlesque, but they did. And so,
Wow.
yeah, at the Roxy in LA, and they used to have celebrity cameos and stuff like that. And so all this stuff would get filtered in through like the Dolly and Girlfriend magazines. And so I think that kind of all festered inside of me. And then, by the time I kind of started doing burlesque, everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense for you. Aren't you already doing that?
I love that. How iconic that the Pussycat Dolls were a burlesque troupe. I mean, it makes sense.
Right, right. So yeah, before they were a pop group, they were a neo troupe out of the Roxy Theatre in LA. And they used to have like, Pink would perform with them and Cameron Diaz in the second, so not the newest Charlie's Angels film, but the new old Charlie's Angel film, the
Uh-huh.
second one with Demi Moore. They
Hmm.
actually go to the Roxy and they film in there. And little Cameron Diaz does a little routine. And that's the Pussycat Dolls. That's where they got their start.
No way. That's awesome.
A little bit of neo burlesque history for you, Daisy.
Learn something new every day on this show.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, no, so that and like, being a kid growing up in country New South Wales, it was just coming through the Dolly and Girlfriend magazines. I was not more
Yeah.
exposed to it than that, but that was enough. That was enough.
And all of a sudden the brain chemistry changed, and you're just like, yep, this is going to be my future.
Boom. The second I can put pasties on, I'm gonna.
So when did you sign up for your first class?
Yeah, so my first class was in end of 2019.
Mhm.
Such a good time to start a new hobby, and it's a notoriously great time to start a new hobby. And this story is a bit of a trigger warning
Okay.
because it's gross, not because anything bad happened.
Okay.
Well, so okay, something bad did happen to my eye. My first class was at Sydney Vintage Dance. I took a dance class with Sheena. I'd signed up for the whole
Fun.
term, and I had so much fun. Now I was in the exact wrong shoes, by the way. Like I was in these block heels. I sounded and danced like a Clydesdale horse, but I was having a good time, and that's what matters. Anyway, so we do the class. I leave. It's wonderful. And I go home. In the next few days, I get a piece of metal, trigger warning, lodged in my eyeball that has to be like ground out by the optometrist with a special tool.
What?
And yeah, 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 that was really hectic. I don't know, like I just walking through life, piece of metal, no more burlesque classes for you for like 2 months.
Oh.
So that kind of just sat me on my bum. I had to recover from that, and that put a stop to it.
Mm.
And then, as we know, 2020 was just such a chill year where everything went so normal that it was just kind of like picking up these classes, like, oh, we're allowed to be in person, I'll go to a class. And then,
Yeah.
oh, we're online, I'll do a workshop online. So it was quite hodgepodge for the
Yeah.
first few years, if I'm being honest. Like, I knew I was really into burlesque because I kept trying to learn it, even though learning it was really annoying to do.
Yeah. God. Because the online, I mean, like everyone was trying so hard back then to, keep
Yeah.
it's not the same.
No, and look, I think we know a lot more now. Like, shout out to Maison Burlesque Online. That's who I am subscribed with now, and I love them, and they've got an incredible platform. But like where we are now, what we learn now, they were still learning those lessons.
Yeah.
So it was actually I was doing early classes with Maple Rose over Zoom, and to see what Maison Burlesque Online has turned into has been wonderful, and it's such a good resource. But yeah, that's kind of it's still not as much as I do love it. The online cannot replace the in-person connection, and so the ability to get back into like troops and classes the second that we could, like we were in there with masks, spaced out, did not care. We were into it. We were doing burlesque.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Were you in any troops when you could?
I love troops. Like typical only child, if I'm being honest, I prefer a solo because I don't have to work with anyone. And that's just me being spoiled. But troops but they're so important. Like they're where you like you learn those skills, you cut your teeth, and it's where you like find your crew. Like
Absolutely.
you would know I imagine the case is a bit similar for you. Like I'm still really good friends with a lot of people that I was in troops with, and many of them aren't even in burlesque anymore, but
Oh,
they're still just people that I have in my life because it's just like it is learning burlesque with someone and going in the stakes of a performance with someone, it is such a bonding experience. Like, even if you're like, oh, I don't really like troops. Oh, please just do one for me. Like, just trust me, because like it's even if you don't love being on stage like that, like being in the room with a bunch of other people who have similar stakes to you as a performer
Mm.
is such a gift. It is such a gift.
It really is. It really is. It's so much, and it's so much fun as well because you get to, like do your costumes together and stuff and like
Yes.
set up rhinestoning days. It's very cute.
And rhinestoning is absolutely miserable when it's a solo project, but if
Yeah.
you can do it with some girlfriends, a good TV show, and some wine,
Yeah.
that is a fun time.
Yeah.
Me right now is a bit solo rhinestoning, and listen, the wine is still there,
Yeah.
but the vibes aren't quite. So yeah, crafternoons and just creating that sense of community. Like, you'll eventually get to your solos.
Mm.
It's something that tends to come for all of us if you want it. But
Yeah.
the time you have in your troupe and the time you have when you're first learning and burlesque is new, it's wonderful. Like, don't rush it, enjoy it, have fun, laugh a lot. Like, it's spectacular.
Yeah. It really, really is. Do you remember any of the themes of the troops that you first did?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one that sticks out to me the most was, okay, this is nothing personally against Tom Jones. I'm just not the biggest fan of his music. And we did a routine to Tom Jones's cover of Kiss by Prince.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, couldn't have been the Prince one. I love Prince. No, we had to do the Tom Jones one. And we had these giant, and when I say giant, like my height, inflatable set of lips. They were pool floaties.
Oh my God.
And yes, and so we danced around with them and we reached through them seductively and
Hmm.
did all that. It was a super convenient routine. It was very easy to transport.
Yeah. Yeah, because you
It was
didn't play it at the venue, right?
yeah, so at some point there was just all of us standing around in burlesque get up, pumping up these inflatable lips out the back before the show. And I was like, oh, this doesn't feel like the glamour that I signed up for. It was wonderful. It was a wonderful routine. I still think of it fondly, but yeah, I think I've got those lips somewhere. If anyone wants a pair of inflatable glittery lips, I've got them somewhere.
That's the fun thing about burlesque, hey, is that you'll end up like accumulating all of this random shit and
Oh
you're
my
just like, oh
God.
my God.
Oh my God. And like even the stuff that like you get and you're like, oh, that'll be an act. And then it never
Mm.
becomes an act. So now you're
Yeah.
just like, I have a glitter sword in my house. I made it. I spent hours on it. It's glittery. It's a sword.
Oh,
I don't know what I'm using it for. I have no idea what I'm doing with it, but it's here. So,
that's just a
there's
really
that.
cool thing to have.
At some point, it's just going to be decor.
Yeah.
And yeah, at some point, it's just decoration. It's
Mm.
no longer a prop.
That's what I love about some burlesque performers, like the way that they like store their props. They do make it into decor, like the fans on the walls and stuff. I'm like, oh, so
Yep,
pretty.
I do that move. I do that move.
Yeah.
But also partly because if they're up there, then I know I'm not breaking them. Like the second
Mm.
they go in the bag, I'm like, oh my God, those feathers. Oh my God, those staves. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So if
Yeah.
they're up on the wall, I'm like, they're okay. We can see them. They're okay.
Yeah.
Fans
Nothing's
are beautiful, but they're very stress inducing, I think.
I've never owned a pair myself, but I mean, like, yeah, they are gorgeous, but like, oh my God, like, yeah, I would be scared of breaking them all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like Sydney's very lucky. We have a lot of really good fan teachers in Sydney as well. Like Whiplash is the first one that comes to my mind.
Mm, mm,
So if like you ever wanted to did like learn fan, that would be the first place I would send anyone because she's just incredible with them. But
mm.
they are a cruel mistress. I will not pretend. Like they will have you lifting weights. They'll have you planking. Like it's a pursuit.
Yeah, seriously. That's like the biggest like shell shock that I found whenever I like because I've done like a few like fan classes like casually and stuff. When I pick
Mm-hmm.
them up, you don't think they're gonna be that heavy, but they really are.
Yeah. And how do they do that thing where they make them get heavier? Because you pick them up and they're one way, and then by the end of that damn class, they are so much heavier.
Yeah.
It's witchcraft.
Yeah.
I think Whiplash would probably disagree with us, but you and I know that there's witchcraft at play there.
Exactly. 100%, 100%. Whiplash might actually be a witch. Maybe she knows the secret.
That explains the fan skill.
Yes.
Thank
Now, you've got, I really like your burlesque name because it is a very like unique name. Like, how did you come up
you.
with Victory Von Duchess?
Yeah, well, it wasn't my first name. My first burlesque name was Chesty Coffin.
Oh,
And yeah, I just didn't love her that much. She's fine. She was a cute draft.
yeah.
And then I kind of went on a bit of a break from burlesque before doing apprentice and wanted to rebrand and relaunch myself and just kind of, I don't know, approach burlesque a little bit more embodied in my own direction as opposed to the teachers that I'd had.
Mm.
And I thought about like victory is a word that you hear a lot around the golden era of burlesque, right? Like victory roles and the whole concept of like propaganda and wartime discussion and things like that. So you hear it a lot. But then also, I really loved the concept of victory being this kind of uplifting, powerful reminder of kind of all the shit you'd already survived.
Yeah.
Like you'd already persevered and triumphed all over everything to get you to the point of like being on this stage. There's nothing that can happen on this stage that can hurt you that you haven't already survived. And so that's kind of where victory lives. It's this really powerful, strong, thoughtful name.
Yeah.
And then my last name is ESS added onto Von Dutch like the hats. It's a very thoughtful name about, oh my God, we want to, it's yes, strength, internal struggle, and then it's trucker hat.
Von Dutch.
I actually have a Von Dutch hat that I've like scrawled ESS on and rhinestoned. It's a prototype. I'm gonna work on it better. Maybe I need to get a redesigned logo. Don't tell them that because I'll get sued. But who knows?
Iconic. Holy shit. I love it so much. It's
But
so
again,
you as well. Like,
yes, and I'm that naughty's kid. Like I will give you heartfelt warmth, but then I'm still just a fool.
yeah. And that's what I adore about you is that you're not afraid to just be a fucking idiot on stage. And I love it
No.
so
The
much.
one thing I take extremely serious is how stupid I
Yes.
am.
And it comes across like
Good.
I've never watched an act of yours and come away from it like not with a big smile on my face, you know?
Oh, good. That genuinely actually means so much to hear because that's a huge aim of why I make. I think we do a lot of reasons push us onto stages in burlesque, but for me, I genuinely am head over heels in love with my audience and in love with creating an experience that we can share together. So for you to say that, that's so lovely. Thank you, Daisy.
Probs. Well, what was your first ever solo act then?
Oh my God, I'm such a theatre dork. Okay. So my first ever solo act was Lady Macbeth, but not any Lady Macbeth. It is Act One, Scene Five, where Lady Macbeth gets the letter from Macbeth. He's like, "Hey, these witches told me I'm going to be king," and she's like, "Sick." And so it's kind of like this femdom routine
Ooh.
where we're going to get Macbeth to take over the crown, and then there's like a hat, like a crown box that the crown's in, but then you take the lid off the crown box and it's like I created a fake latex vulva
Oh,
and I reach inside the vulva and I pull out the crown that way because that's how you get the crown. The lady's got to do it. And listen, I loved it, but I might have overthought it a little bit. Like I think about the effort that I put into solos now versus that one, and I'm like, yeah, I really overthought that. Like Phil was like, I reckon I can play the drum solo from In the Air Tonight. And that was the logic behind Phil. But my first one was, I want to do Shakespeare and that's great. I think it's valid. I'd probably get her out again, but I
yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I think maybe it was too much of the theatre kid overhang. I still had to let that go and
Hmm.
realize that maybe I was in a different art form.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. But the storytelling sounds really, really interesting.
Oh yeah, and it was to Billie Eilish. You should see me in a
Oh,
crown, and I came out to bagpipes. And listen,
wow.
I still have the PVC look, and the PVC look should be getting reused. I've got to figure out some for that. But look, will Lady Macbeth ever see the stage again? I don't know. I don't know. I think maybe she's better left where she is, to be honest.
Hey, well, I mean, look, I think that if anything, it sounds like a really awesome and creative way to get into burlesque because I mean, it's like combining all the things that you love, right? With the striptease and the theater. So you were big into theater?
Yeah, oh well, I mean that's what I went to uni to do. So
Ah,
that's my background and I work in the arts and blah, 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 all that kind of professional stuff. But I
gotcha.
think what burlesque presents a really nice opportunity to do is to throw off a lot of the stuff that we were like you're told to do. Like I know a lot of people from burlesque come from a really strict like dancing background.
Yes.
And some of the joy of burlesque is actually going, you know what? Thanks for teaching me the rules, but I'm going to break them now.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of where I find the joy in the art form. And I see where a lot of other people find the joy in the art form is kind of letting yourself be messy, letting yourself be less researched. And I think maybe that was the issue. I was still trying to approach it very, I'm a good little theatre student, as opposed to, I'm a rat bag. I need to let myself be a rat bag.
Yeah. Just let it all out there.
Exactly.
So, what's your favorite act that you've ever done then?
Right. Like my favorite act so far is Phil.
Good,
Absolutely. And
good,
like
because I
very
wanted
much
to
for
talk
the,
about this.
no, good. Very much for the reasons that I said, Phil is made because I wanted to have fun and figuratively and literally play with the audience. So, like, literally, in the sense that I'm handing out drums
Yeah,
and I want you to play along with me. But if you don't, I guess what I'm hoping to do is just like Phil Collins has this weird place in a lot of our nostalgia, I think, for a certain age group.
yeah,
And I think there's an element of like, I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone's taste, but you can't help but tap along when
yeah.
there's a Phil Collins song. And it's something about just, I wanted to find something that would just be playful and
Mm,
joyful and
mm,
fun and not an overthink and not too deep. Just, hey, I'm going to come out, I'm going to be sexy Phil Collins,
yeah,
and we're going to drum together. Sometimes I think the simplicity is the joy.
yeah. Absolutely, 100%. And God, like, can I just say, like, this is like major fangirl moment, but like, I tell so many people about that routine. Like, I tell,
Oh,
like,
that's so kind.
for realsies, yeah. Like I will tell like burlesque people about it, but I'll also tell
Oh,
non-burlesque people about it too, because I think that there's
mm,
like a real conception that burlesque is this one thing, like with the
yes,
general public. It's like, oh, it's fans, it's this, it's blah, and it can be beautiful, but like,
yes,
the stuff at least that I really connect with. I love being a fucking idiot, and that's what I love about you is that you are such a
yes.
dork, and you're just like, you know what? I'm gonna put on a fucking bald cap on stage, like fuck it. And I'm just like, yes,
Why
this is
not?
it. Like,
I mean, I know for me, I did uni theater in uni, and so I was very privileged to learn about burlesque that way and kind of know about the CBGB's resurgence 2004 grungy era of burlesque that was really
mm,
about performance art and really about expression and maybe eschewing the more conventional understandings of beauty and embracing a different queerer, blacker, more subversive aesthetic.
yeah.
And I think that's something, while I don't know if I'm not putting an inherent value on anything like whatever type, because I love to do classic as well.
Yeah.
My next act that I'm working on is very classic. So
Mm.
I don't put really a value judgment on it, but I do like to remind people that burlesque, yes, we can be beautiful dolls that are perfect and untouchable, and we can also be absolute degenerate fools.
Yeah.
And I've got to be honest, people might like the degenerate fools more.
Yeah.
I'm just, if the thing is about what they enjoy more, what I get asked about more, it's never my fans.
Yeah.
It's always the drum kit.
It's always the little lineup drum kit. Oh God, that
Yeah.
freaking scent. How privileged was I to be in the audience that night? Like seriously, like just watching the whole energy of that room like change when you
I
pulled out
mean,
that freaking drum kit.
but I had the dream audience there too, because Phil's only been performed once. Like all this conversation around Phil is happening, and I feel so lovely. He's been performed once.
Wow.
Um, and so to have that room, because it was still very much a work in progress, he's changed a little bit now, to have that warm room of other performers who not only are there and like supportive, because we're always out for each other, but like
Yeah.
y'all got it. Y'all
Mhm.
got what I was doing.
Mhm.
That was made me just go like, oh my God, yes, this is like, and it's the moments that you come to burlesque for. It's the community, right? It's like these people see me. These
Absolutely.
people see what I'm doing and they see what I want to present for them, and it is for them, not just for me.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's a very affirming thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, it really was. It really was a beautiful energy that night. God, I wish that I could just bottle that. Like it was so good.
Honestly, the only thing if my pasties would have stayed on, I would be so happy.
I forgot about that. You have the double pasty pops.
I know, I know. Listen, that I think actually was the best baptism for film.
Yeah.
Yep, double pasty pop. There it is. This act is never going anywhere.
Yeah. So is that your biggest on stage fail, you reckon, or have there been?
No, no. My first troop would have to be my onstage fail. So we were doing a corset bust reveal, as we all know.
Mhm.
Kindly, they'd let us turn around to do the corset bust reveal. And
Mhm.
I went to do the corset bust reveal. You know, when sometimes it unclips and it reclips?
Yes.
So it did that, but it caught my skin in between the middle. And I'm very determined on stage and I'm not going to miss my cue. So I ripped and I hit the cue and I turn around, big smile, to feel a drop of blood work its way from my abdomen all the way down to my underpants. And this is the first time I've ever done a burlesque performance. And I'm just standing there smiling and bleeding.
Oh,
So no, the double pasties, that's a bit less than the actual blood.
oh my God. Was it like a big cut in the end or like?
It turned out to be probably 3 or 4 centimeters.
Oh,
It was,
wowie.
yeah, like, and because like you're in that moment, right? And you're like got that adrenaline, so you're like, oh,
Mm.
just get it off. And then when you get off the stage, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
Al, who's got the better dean? Like that was my first reaction. But I kind of again one of those moments where it was like, well, okay, you've had a corset reveal go wrong and you've bled on stage.
Mm.
You can probably survive anything else that happens.
It's true. Your name is Victory. I mean,
There it is. There it is.
So, do you have a favorite costume that you've ever worn?
Yeah, it's the heartbreaker jacket, just
Yes.
the heart,
Yeah.
because every time I see myself in a photo of that, it just makes me giggle
Yeah.
because it's this broken heart and these legs and no arms, and there's just something quite odd about it. My
Mm.
favorite place to perform it was in front of Porcelain Alice's Royal Recruits Royal Review heart
Oh yeah.
because I was just like, I've got to hit that center and get the broken heart right in the heart. And I did. And that shot is one of my favorites.
Oh.
Like, I'm just like, oh, I love it. So good. But yeah, she's on her way out though. I
Aw.
think I've probably repaired her as much as she can. I think I'm just going to have to rebuild.
Mm, mm. Did you make it yourself?
So the costume piece, it was a big heart, but the cut down the middle and then all the rhinestoning and everything, that was me.
Ah, gotcha.
So
You bought the heart yourself?
yeah, so you can just buy them from a costume shop.
What?
Yeah, I searched forever. I searched forever, but I found it. And that's, look, am I a good sewer? Absolutely not. But I will hack the hell out of something that someone else has already put together. Like that's a costume tip for anyone. If you're not a good sewer, okay, but you can glue and you can hot glue.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Hmm.
that's kind, and I mean that's why she's falling apart though.
Ah.
So just go in knowing that. Go in knowing that.
Oh man. Yep, no, I love that heart act so much too. Like I have very vivid memories of me being a stage kitty backstage and like being like to you, do you need anything for your act? Like, and you're just like, just make sure that I don't fall down the stairs because I don't have any arms in this costume.
Yeah, that's every time I perform that act, I go up to like it's like me going up to the stage kitty going like, "Hey, my guy, like, I'm so sorry. Um, I'm gonna probably be a liability, and you're gonna have to help me."
It was like me on one side and Exotic Venus on the other, and we're just like, make sure she doesn't fall.
And I've never felt safer. I've
Oh,
never felt safer. But yeah, no, I have fallen backwards a few times, which honestly, it kind of just adds to it because then I just cry more. Like being a broken heart, you can get away with a lot. I think even if I fell over, I would probably be able to go "Ah," and sell it. Whereas if I was trying to look pulled together, it would be harder.
yeah. That's very true. That's very, very true. No, it's that's a very fun act, that one. You have a boa as well in that act, right?
I do. I built the bowl because I wanted it to be the artery for the heart. super glamorous. And it's got like 1.2 Ks of tulle in it or something. It's a beast. Like I genuinely my first act that I was shopping around was a big set of fans. Then it was a big boa and now it's a drum kit. I need to stop it. Like I am a menace to backstage spaces. I've got to stop bringing so much big stuff with me.
It's a Victory Von Duchess production,
Yeah.
it's going to be a big prop.
Sorry, you've got to sit near this in giant flats. That's just it is what it is, a Juliet balcony. No, like we don't want that. But the next one is intentionally, I've in like the more classic one I'm going for after Phil.
Hmm.
I have refused to let myself have anything that I couldn't carry or wear.
Ah.
So that's going to be an interesting little, yeah, little, because I can technically carry the drum kit.
Hmm.
So we'll see how I try to get out of this one.
Oh man. So, do you consider yourself to have a signature move when you're on stage?
Look, I think I would be remiss to not, and this has got a technical name as well because I've tried to research it and find the technical name, but I call it the knee drop butt shimmy.
Oh,
Yeah, which is when I do the and down, and then we do the butt isolation each
yeah,
cheek.
yeah,
If there was one, I guess it would be that, but I'm so hesitant to say that it's a signature move. Like it's just something that I do. It's just something that I do.
yeah. All right, but I think that's a good choice for you because when I think of like moves that you do on stage, but also on Instagram, I feel like there are a lot of videos, stories of you doing that iconic butt jiggle.
Listen, it is a hobby of mine. It is a pursuit. It's always very important for me whenever the conversation and topic of my butt jiggles come up is that I did not like teach myself. I learned from Demon Derriere.
Ah, yes.
And she's an incredible teacher. She's got some workshops coming up in February that I could not recommend more.
Mhm.
And the biggest reason why I don't teach is because I've always kind of been able to do it a little bit. So
Yeah,
I don't really like I know how it works on my body type. I don't know how I would teach someone else.
yeah.
And then I also just come up against the whole, and this is getting a little bit serious now, but I do think it's worth mentioning, especially, as someone that does this, and like you said, it is on Instagram. I genuinely don't think it's my place to teach it.
Hmm.
I have learnt from incredible teachers who are positioned within the culture and who are positioned within dance styles that, Mapuka, twerking, dance hall, that this all originates out of.
Hmm.
And so while I'm always happy to give tips, and please come to my DMs, I'll give you tips, you'll probably never see a Victory Von Duchess booty class because I just don't think it's my place to teach. Like, one, I don't think I'd be a good teacher, but also there are already incredible teachers that are well positioned culturally and who are far more skilled, advanced, and just knowledgeable than I ever will be
Hmm.
to teach that. I'll goof around online, I'll put it on like the stage in appropriate ways too. That I won't every way I can twerk won't necessarily make it on stage because I think that's also important to remember what I'm presenting as a person
Yeah.
and what I'm borrowing and making sure that I'm not appropriating.
Mm, mm.
Like it's a very delicate balance that I try to be aware of. Maybe I overthink it too much. I don't know, but I recognize that I am in a place that's not necessarily mine, and I'm privileged to be able to be there to even learn this. And I just never want to let go of that gratitude.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really important that like you have that knowledge of that history as well and that you're aware of
Yeah.
where all these things come from. That's really awesome.
And look, a lot of that came through Demon as well, and through Big Thick Energy when she would run the Big Thick Energy workshops and stuff like that as well, and just the educators that she brought in for us all to learn from, like just that knowledge sharing and that opportunity to just actually hear from people from the culture.
Mm.
Just I was like, I'm never going to be able to do half as good a job at this. So why would I ever? And it's not my place. I don't feel comfortable. And when there are such amazing teachers already, just go book them and I'll see you in their workshop. Let's go sweat together.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be booking in for Demons
Oh,
March the
do,
23rd.
do. Sorry, I didn't mean to cough. You absolutely do. I cannot recommend them enough. She's got four going off. I think I'm doing the last two only because I've done the first two like 3 or 4 times already.
Yeah, wow.
And they are incredible. Incredible.
Hell yeah. Return customer, Victory Von Duchess. I mean, like, what more do you need?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, look, she knows that. She knows that always, whenever I get there, I'm like, book her in. So yeah, but no, I'm always very appreciative to also the platforms and the spaces that Demon creates for us as I'm a plus size performer. That's not something that's everywhere. And I always want to just remind myself to express the gratitude as opposed to just feel it.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Well, who would you say is your biggest influence in the performance space?
Oh, can I have two?
Yeah, go for it. As many as you need.
Okay. So the two that I try to copy the most Betty Bombshell. I think a lot of people have probably already said her.
Icon.
There's just such an icon, exactly. There's just such an energy and a power. I got to one of her workshops last year. Did you ever get to go to one of her workshops?
Yes, I did. I think we might have been in the same one, the one with the robe.
Yeah, and I brought a cardigan.
Yeah,
Yep, that one.
yeah.
Yeah,
Iconic.
that was me. Yeah, we wouldn't together. Like, how good was the energy in that room?
Incredible.
And just, yes, you could take, there was so much to take from it, but if you only took a tidbit, like just everything was a little like nugget of gold. So such a big fan of Betty Bombshell. And then another performer, Australian performer I'm a huge fan of is Trigger Happy.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
yeah, like if I had my way, they would adopt me as my parents. I wouldn't put that on them, but if I had my way, that's what would happen. I love Trigger's work. I am such a big fan of Swamp Less and the Stripsons, and I just think like as a performer, he's incredible.
Mm,
As a boylesque performer, he's outstanding. Like it's just so exciting to see boylesque. I think we don't see it enough. And when Trigger comes out, he
mm,
gives you a show.
yeah.
But then also as a producer, like just yeah, we're gonna make Swamp Less, we're gonna make Stripsons, and just entertainment wall to wall. Like I just can't help but be just such a fangirl.
Yeah, it's bloody incredible. And it's so clever as well because it makes burlesque a lot more accessible to a mainstream audience. It's like, oh, you don't know much about
Exactly.
burlesque, but you know about what Shrek is, and that with stripping is
Exactly.
funny. Like,
But that gets people through our doors. So and I
exactly.
think that's where a lot of my love for Trigger comes from as well, is that I see those level productions as such a community booster
Mm,
because people, oh, I don't know burlesque, but you're right, I know Shrek. Oh
mm,
my God, that was so fun. Let's go to another show.
yeah.
And that's the kind of like the boosting and the rising tide elevates all boats type thing. I think I've sorted that, but that kind of concept that if some of us succeed, we all succeed. That's just such a thing I try to practice in my mentality when I approach art communities because it is true. Okay, maybe that opportunity wasn't you, but the fact these opportunities are going around
Mm,
is a good thing for all of us.
yeah, that is really beautiful. I really love that. So, do you have any advice for new performers?
Yes, I do. And look, I've listened to a few episodes and I think I've heard this mentioned in a few ways. So
Mm,
I'm probably repeating myself, but I do really think it bears repeating.
go for it.
Burlesque is incredible and I love it, but it is so important to take care of your mental health when you play
Mm,
this game.
mm,
Just by the nature of it, we're dancing in front of mirrors, we're taking our clothes off in front of strangers, people we don't know, we're doing photo shoots, we're constantly meeting new people, all this different kind of stuff. It can be really, really taxing. And if you aren't in the best place mentally, burlesque can stop feeling joyful very quick. Like I'll speak from my own experience. Last year, I was leaving a very, very stressful job,
mm,
and burlesque just wasn't feeling as wonderful as it used to for me. And so I put it down. I put it down for 3 months.
mm,
I didn't work on anything. I didn't have any EOIs out. I just actually gave myself the grace and went, I need some space. And then from that, I started creating again. And then we have Phil,
yeah.
and I've got three other solos planned. And it was knowing that this beautiful art form full of these wonderful people will be there if you need to put it down for a while and tend to yourself. Because in this game, I'm going to say it, your mental health is as important as your physical and your skill building. It just is. If your mentality is not where you need it to be and you aren't being kind to yourself, it will affect everything.
Mm,
And this should be a place of joy.
yeah.
Keep it as a place of joy. And if it stops being as a place of joy, it's okay to put it down until it can become that again for you.
Yeah. That's really, really good advice because it is true. I mean, like at the end of the day, I think so many of us go to burlesque for that community and
Mm-hmm.
that creative outlet, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it can
Oh,
spiral if you let
absolutely. Well, it's the double-edged sword too. Like community is a wonderful thing and it's such an incredible thing to be a part of, but being involved in community also comes with responsibilities.
Yeah.
And so it's that double-edged sword of wanting to show up and getting all the wonderful things we get out of communities while also realizing we have to give things. We're
Mm.
responsible for how we show up. And sometimes we actually can't show up as our best selves. And I am, maybe it's just me being a typical Aquarius. I'll take some space, get what I need to in line, and then come back and show up as the productive member of the community I can be.
Love that. I love that you're an Aquarius too. It makes so much sense.
Yeah, of course it does. We're weirdos.
Yeah, we're little weirdos.
It's true. And I love it. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, yep. And
Realsies. Okay, so we're actually getting towards the end of the interview, which is wild.
no,
We've managed it. Isn't it crazy?
I know I could be here for another day, Daisy. This is so lovely talking to you.
Likewise. Well, we need to like catch up off air, I feel like.
I owe you a dinner. You put up with me answering all my questions. Now I want to hear your answers to all
Ah,
these questions.
as if. No, that would be even longer.
There's a special in that though. Ooh. I'm just saying. Anyway, we'll talk about that over drinks.
So, is there anyone right now in the scene who's doing something awesome that you want to put a spotlight on, whether that's, a show, a performer, workshops, whatever? Who's doing
Look,
cool?
I've got to be honest, and I've shouted out a few people already, and I'm happy to have shouted you out, but I'm going to focus because I could be here literally all day. I want to focus on my Western Sydney based artists and shows because I'm based in the mountains.
Hmm.
I'm very passionate about being a Western Sydney based artist. So, my girl Forest Green, she has her EOIs out for Simply Burlesque, which happens out at Penrith. And so I need you to follow both Forest and Simply Burlesque on Instagram and think about coming out to Penrith for a show. It's cute, it's pretty. We got the river. I am probably going to be there at some point terrorizing that stage if she lets me. So make sure you do that. And I also want to shout out Gothla AU, which is Australia's first multi-day gothic metal and dark fusion dance festival. And it's run by an incredible belly dancer and performance artist called Jessica. Now, this isn't just a belly dance festival, though. It's a great stage for all manner of different alternative fusion dance performers. They had some burlesque at some of their shows last year. They're doing shows and workshops again this year, and it's going to be running from the 5th and the 7th of September. So if you are alternative, if you like the darker things, if you like the quirkier things, connect with Gothla AU and Jessica Belly Dancer as well.
Hell yeah, that sounds really exciting.
I know, I know. So it's actually already a festival that exists in the UK. And because Jess is just so amazing, she is now running the Australian version because they're like, well, you're incredible. You do an AU version. And now she is. And it's in its second year, which is amazing. Getting something out the first year, really difficult. Getting it up again the second year, incredible. So keep your eye out for that one.
That sounds awesome. All right, well, we're at the very end. So, Victory Von Duchess, what are you working on right now? Where can people find you?
Oh, well, I've got some shows booked throughout the year, which I'm very grateful for, but I'll wait for their casting announcements. And I've been working on a little digital burlesque kind of history series because your girl loves research and making performance theory and history accessible. So over the next few months, I'm hoping to get a few of those out just to, keep the information flowing, keep the knowledge free and easy for us all to access.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. That's really important work.
Look, I am at my essence a nerd who really loves a good book. So this is just an excuse to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Victory, for joining me today. It's been so mumuch fun.
Thank you so much for having me, Daisy. And thank you for having this podcast. It's such an incredible community kind of thing for us all to gather around in Sydney. It's
Oh,
gorgeous. I'm so proud of you.
you're very kind. Thank you. It's well, you people like you make it a joy. So I mean,
Oh, we could continue this off air.
Well, I'm sure that I will see you around the scene sometime very, very soon.
Absolutely. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.